One of the signature flowers of spring is the camellia. On this episode of Garden Time, we get some history and tips from the Oregon Camellia Society about growing these beauties. We also preview the annual Newberg Camellia Festival in Newberg, Oregon. Coming up on this episode of Garden Time. Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru in Salem, Oregon.
Here at Capital Subaru, we are family. From you, our customers, our coworkers, and even our actual family members work here. This is my son, Casey. We're generations ahead of the competition, and we're always working to keep you and your family moving.
We're here for you. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
All the support you need, from sales and financing to service and parts. We'll be here for you for generations to come.
And generations after that.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Casey. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
Where it's
your way on the Parkway.
Welcome to the Garden Time Podcast. We're based in the Pacific Northwest of the United States in a Zone 8 region. This zone deals with plants that can survive in 10 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. I'm producer Jeff Gustin with your hosts Judy Alaruzzo and Ryan Seeley. Welcome to Garden Time. Today it is, I'd say, early spring still, and we are dodging showers, and we're talking about one of those beautiful flowers that comes out in early spring, the camellia. And we're here with Kathy from the Oregon Camellia Society, and we're in Newberg, which the official city flower is the camellia.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it became the city flower in 1949, I think it was. The camellia was fostered by Russell Gaynor in Newberg. He became just enamored with the camellia. He was a member of Oregon Camellia Society and the American Camellia Society and the Men's Garden Club in Newberg. And they proposed to have the camellia as the city flower in 1949.
Which surprises me because it's a flower that's been around for centuries.
Yes.
And I mean, everybody grabs the rose, the rose city and all that. We have daffodils as, city flowers. But the camellia is not, I don't hear about that as a city flower very often.
I think in the Southeast, it is extremely popular as a flower in Southeast U.S. And I think you would find it much, much more so there.
But they do well here. I mean,
they do.
Not just in Newberg, but all over the Northwest here.
They do really well all along California, Oregon, Washington, and then Southeast U.S. up to about Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that area.
So they can handle a wide range of temperatures.
Yes, really quite a range, yeah.
For those that are maybe not familiar with camellia, I know a lot of us do, but it's more kind of large shrub, small tree?
Yes.
How would you describe what
a camellia really wants to be a tree. So there aren't lots and lots of really small camellias. You can easily prune them and keep them lower, but most of them want to keep growing. And in Japan, where Camellia japonica comes from, it's called tsubaki there, and that is the tree with shining leaves.
Yeah, they're evergreen, so nice.
Yes,
and
they're
shiny.
evergreen, and which is particularly good for us in the Pacific Northwest because it is so dark and damp, and so if you have that in the landscape, it reflects the light so well.
And they really start to bloom for us here in the Northwest. They start blooming so early for us,
That's
which is
right.
such a nice break when it's so gray and dark.
Yeah. Yes, the camellia is really wonderful in that it actually has 4 seasons of bloom.
Oh.
So you've got the Camellia sasanquas starting usually in October here, and they'll run to early winter. Then you'll have the japonicas and hybrids starting, and they'll run, depending on where you live in Oregon, they can usually go to the end of April. And then a more recent development is the Camellia azalea, which comes from Southeast China, and it was discovered in 1980, and it blooms in the summer and then sporadically throughout the year, but it will only go down to about 23 degrees. So they're doing a lot of hybridizing, and the American Camellia Society is working with Chinese hybridizers to bring it here into the United States. And so then it would bloom in the summer and then sporadically in other parts of the year.
Is it a similar looking kind of shrub or bloom, or is it?
The leaves look slightly different than your typical camellia leaf, but it is evergreen. And you can see it is a camellia flower. Wow. It's the camellia azalea. It's confusing for us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I know.
Like more small.
Yeah, no, because it's confusing. But that species has a camellia flower, and it's somewhat of an orangey red.
Mm-hmm. So you brought up temperatures for the azalea camellia. So here in the Pacific Northwest, we don't get severe cold. Mm-hmm. We do get wet. I mean, I was out mowing my moss today, or I should have been vacuuming it. What are the optimum conditions for growth as far as the different varieties of Sasanquas?
Usually down to about 0. The optimum light is morning sun, afternoon shade. But a Camellia sasanqua can take a lot more sun. And actually japonicas, there are a number of japonicas that do well out in full sun. You'll be able to tell if you have planted a camellia and it doesn't like it, the leaves will start turning yellow and they will crisp up a little bit. But really, there's a fair number that will do well in sun. They do actually quite well if you have a perennial border. You don't often see it. People don't think of using camellias. And so they do well with other plants around their roots. I think it keeps them cool. And so in that situation, I think they tend to do quite well in the sun.
Nice. And so in the sun, you probably have to keep it evenly moist.
Yes.
They're not drought tolerant.
Right. But they are more drought tolerant than you think, because they do put down a taproot.
Oh, okay.
And so after about 4 years or so, you can water less. As rhododendrons generally have a root mass that just goes down 15, 20 inches, but a camellia will go down much deeper.
And you've talked, about some of the different varieties, the sasanqua varieties that tend to bloom earlier, and then the japonicas. So if somebody's, they have just a little different look to them also. So if somebody has a camellia in your yard and they're not sure if it's a sasanqua variety or a japonica variety, are there a couple little telltale signs?
Usually sasanqua leaves are smaller. And japonica leaves have a much larger shape to them. Also, sasanquas often have long whip-like branches, which really lends them, if you have a fence and you want an espalier, you could hide your fence with a Camellia sasanqua. Also, there are a number of Camellia sasanquas that stay lower, which I was saying, there aren't lots and lots of camellias that will stay that way, but there are some Camellia sasanquas that will. Shishigashira, Showa no Sake, Chansonette, white doves. Those will stay lower for people.
And then be more kind of sprawling.
Sprawling, that's right. They'll stay lower and wider.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah.
So kind of like, a large ground cover.
Right.
That's right. And it's very easy to prune those because the branches come up very long.
How lovely.
And so if you want to keep them, say, at 4 feet, it's very easy to snip off a branch.
And then the different kind of flowers, because there really is a range of flowers. It has a lot of different ones for people that have different interests in flowers.
Right. That's what's so terrific about the camellia, and I hope people come to the camellia show. They'll be surprised. One is used to thinking of camellias around older homes in the Pacific Northwest, and you think, oh, those are sort of stiff, and I'm not sure whether I like those so much. But actually, there are 6 forms of camellias plus a special extra. So you've got singles, doubles, anemone form, which has somewhat of a powder puff center, peony form, looks like a peony, rose form double, a formal double, and then the special extra, which is actually a single, is a Higo camellia. So there's something for everyone, flower-wise, bloom-wise.
So when you're talking about singles and doubles, we're talking about the number of petals. So
That's
the
right.
single is more like a flat.
Singles have 5 to 8 petals and usually show the stamens. A double has 9 or more petals of 2 or more rows, and they often ripple and roll around the stamens. The anemone form generally has a flat collar of petals with a center petaloids and stamens, and to me it looks like a little powder puff. And then the rose form double often has a tight form in the center, but it eventually opens and shows stamens. But a formal double never shows stamens. They almost look the same, but eventually as the bloom ages, the formal double will show stamens in the center.
And then what about color range?
There goes from white through pinks, through corals, to orange reds, metallic blood reds, plums, almost into purples, like there is one called grape soda, which gets a little bit purpley looking, often depending on the weather or on your soil. And then the special one is the yellow camellia, but it is not cold tolerant. So they've been working on hybridizing it to be able to find a yellow one that can grow outside in a cooler climate. Right now it only blooms in a warmer climate.
We're used to seeing them around, in the Pacific Northwest. They've been around forever,
Yes.
But they actually grow throughout the world.
Yes, the camellia comes from Asia, mostly southern China and Japan, but also North Vietnam and southern Korea. And but it made its way to Europe, so it's extremely popular in Europe and very popular in England, England, Ireland, Northern Ireland. And then it made its way over to the United States. It's very popular in New Zealand and Australia. So it is in many, many places around the world.
Pretty much where the British Empire went.
That's right.
The camellia went along.
Yeah. That's right.
But really so long ago. When were you saying the history to get to the States?
So a little background. The very popular camellia plant is Camellia sinensis, which is the tea camellia. So it came to the fore in southern China around 1700 BC as a tea and a medicinal. And gradually it became part of the tea ceremony. It traveled with Buddhism over to Japan around the 6th century AD. And then eventually there were explorers from Europe, from the Portuguese and the Dutch, came to southern China and then eventually Japan. They eventually, with those East India companies, they brought the camellia back to Europe, not back to Europe, but to Europe. And the first camellias were in England in the early 1700s.
That was, I know that the tea trade was one of the major driving forces for a lot of that.
That's right.
And the camellia is right at the forefront there. So
right.
Very cool. People tell me too that next to the dahlia, that the camellia has one of the most diverse blooms. You only get like a rose, you can tell a rose. There's only a couple of types of bloom types. This one here has something for everyone.
It does. And that's what's fun at the show. All of us in the Camellia Society always comment how coming to the show makes people so happy and excited because they go around and they'll say, oh my goodness, that's a camellia? You just can't imagine. Especially, I think, striped camellias, or camellias that have what the Japanese like to call cloud shapes. It's, say, a red camellia that has soft white circles, like little clouds on it. So people are really excited to see all these different forms.
I could see. I could see how you can collect them because it's you get really kind of antsy to get more and more.
And then Camellias are size-wise. You can have a camellia that is maybe only the size of your thumb, the beginning of your thumb here, this little joint, up to a camellia that's over 5 inches and will be like two big fists. So those are the reticulatas. And so that's exciting. So again, it offers lots of different ways you can use the camellia in your garden. Another feature is that a number of them are fragrant, which I think many people don't realize. So you have camellias that you can plant, say, next to a walkway, and you'll get that fragrance. So it's they offer a lot to gardeners.
So when you say someone wants to include one in their yard, some quick tips for planting. Okay. Because planting, a lot of times when you get a plant, that's the biggest thing you have for success.
Right.
Is doing it correctly. Right. What do people not do correctly when they're planting camellias?
They plant them so that they'll be too deep. Camellias, just like rhododendrons, enjoy having their roots closer to the surface so that they'll have air. So when you plant a camellia, the best thing is the area directly under your plant, just dig down a little bit, but keep a hard area so it doesn't sink down after 6 months. Because when you've loosened the soil always sinks. So you can go out 3 feet or so, dig around, but right in the center, try not to dig too much right underneath the plant. And it's best to plant a little bit high because it just does sink. That's good with both camellias and rhododendrons.
Soil acidic or?
Acidic soil. For our clay soil at our home, we have found that we combine 1/4 gravel, compost, and our native clay soil. The 1/4 lightens that clay, but you need to just make sure that you're not using any of the gravel that has the fines. So because then you get concrete.
Right, very, very compacted.
Yeah.
So for drainage purpose-wise, if you're not necessarily going down, but you are going wider, are they susceptible to like rot issues? As we go through our long wet winters.
Yeah, it would seem like that would be the case, but I think if you plant high enough, you're not going to have that problem. Yeah. So that's really the major thing. And it's good to put mulch on, but not too much mulch, not too heavy a mulch.
They're pretty durable plants.
They are. They really
pretty easy care.
I think they're very tough, actually.
I noticed there's not a lot of disease or insect problems, especially insect problems. I don't think I've ever seen a pest on our camellias.
Yeah, there are a few problems. Sometimes you can have aphid problems, and you'll get some leaf curl from that, but not too much. It's usually the fungal problems that we have. Petal blight is the main problem, and it occurs from here in the Pacific Northwest from about mid-March through end of April. It's when you have that change of season. And the fungus, there's really nothing to solve it. It causes a small blights, little brown spots on your blooms. And then what happens is the flower will drop, and then the spores keep going from year to year. So that is, I would say, that is our major problem.
I've heard because of the excess moisture of the spring and the warming temperatures, it creates that condition for those fungus.
So you don't have it with Camellia sasanquas or those early camellias that bloom in January or February, or even very late camellias like Night Rider, which is quite a beautiful, really dark red camellia with leaves that come out reddish. In fact, the whole plant has red roots.
Oh,
but
wow.
anyway, but that, yeah. No. So, but you don't usually see petal blight on that because it's such a late bloomer. So it's that really it's sort of unfortunately the height of Camellia japonica bloom.
Right.
That gets it.
Is there things to do as because with such large petals and blooms, and they tend to drop to the ground when they're done, and is there should we be cleaning those up?
Yes, the best thing is to clean the petals up each year after the bloom is completed. Throw it away in your trash, not your compost pile. That's really the best thing that you can do.
Excellent. And then nutrient-wise, you talked about they are acid-loving.
They are acid-loving. They're not really real heavy feeders. We usually just feed, if you see that your camellia is turning yellow, one can feed with a general fertilizer, like a 10-10-10 or something like that, and also add iron. And it will usually take a while for it to green up. It'll take a few months.
So
3 to 6 months.
Yeah, overnight to come back the next morning and quite green.
No, it'll take 3 to 6 months. I think when we were having some problems with our camellias a couple of years ago, I fertilized at the end of January, and it wasn't till June that I noticed that they had all greened up really well. The rule of thumb for fertilizing is usually March, May, and 4th of July. But I never tell people here in the Pacific Northwest to do in the summer because we don't get rains in the summer here. Right. It's not like the Southeast where you're generally getting a rainstorm every week. So if you want to fertilize, I wouldn't fertilize past May.
And then what about pruning? When is a good time? Say you want to shape it, it's just a little misshapen, because you don't really have to. They have beautiful shapes.
They usually for pruning, it would be either with bloom, like you might want to bring some blooms into the house, or just after bloom. Because if you go too late, you're going to cut off bloom for the next year because they form their buds during the summertime.
Kind of like the rhododendrons.
Just
and
like the
azaleas.
rhododendrons, exactly.
Right.
It's just like that.
But I notice a lot of people too, they'll want to go to that tree form. And so eliminating some of those lower limbs, when would be a good time?
You could really do that at any time.
Okay.
You can really prune actually any time during the year. That would just be, the optimum is just after it blooms.
Do they like cool feet? I mean, down near the root zone?
Yes, I think so.
Having a little protection.
Yeah, as I said, I think especially if you're planting out in the sun, it's not. They seem to like to have other plants around them, and then they seem to do quite well. And in fact, for pruning, it's said that you should prune to be able to allow a bird to fly through the camellia bush.
That sounds like a Japanese
or
Chinese
thing. I think so. And you generally, if you're planting in a woodland situation, you won't probably have to do very much pruning because it will grow in a more open fashion. If you plant out in the sun, that's where the camellia becomes very dense, and that's where you'll have to try to open it up a little bit.
Very cool. So we're at the Chehalem Cultural Center in Newberg, Oregon, and roughly about the middle of April every year, you guys have a big show here. So
yes.
They have a big festival. You mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk to Brian a little bit about it. But the Camellia Society has a big show here during that Saturday. So tell us what goes on with the show itself.
Sure. This year is our 82nd annual Camellia Show.
Much older than Newberg having it as a flower.
Yeah. So we've had shows in Portland at the Portland years ago, in the Portland Art Museum, at Meyer and Frank, at the Portland Japanese Garden. But eventually we found our home here, so we've been here for about 15 years or so. It's been a perfect combo with the festival.
But the general public not only can come and view them, they can enter.
That's right. Anyone can enter a bloom in the show, and you shouldn't worry if you're a novice because there will be Camellia Society members to help you to know how to put to write out the paperwork and to display the flower. So it's fun. Everyone is having a good time.
And you guys have a website, I'm sure.
We do, OregonCamelliaSociety.org.
And that has all the information?
It has the information, and it has cultural information for anyone wanting to plant their camellias. It has lots of information on the website.
Well, I got to tell you, we did the did the Garden Time show here in Newberg, Oregon, multiple years, and one of the most fun societies to get to know and to get to know more about the camellia. So thank you so much for taking time with us today.
Thank you.
We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Brian from the city of Newberg about the festival itself and what you can experience coming up here in the middle of April. And we'll be right back.
Here at Capital Subaru, we are family. From you, our customers, our coworkers, and even our actual family members work here. This is my son, Casey. We're generations ahead of the competition, and we're always working to keep you and your family moving.
We're here for you. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
All the support you need, from sales and financing to service and parts. We'll be here for you for generations to come.
And generations after that.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Casey. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
Where it's
your way on the Parkway.
For 75 years, Al's Garden and Home has been a favorite destination of local gardeners. Starting in a small roadside fruit stand off of 99E in Woodburn by Al Biggie, Al's has grown to 4 retail locations in the Portland metro area that also includes a huge growing operation near Hubbard. To ensure that you get the highest quality, Al's grows over 80% of the plants they sell. This 4th generation family-owned business is now one of the most recognized garden centers in the country. Stop by one of our 4 locations to learn why Al's is the first stop for Northwest gardeners.
Dramm is celebrating 75 years of design and manufacturing of quality watering tools. Dramm products feature 9 water patterns and are designed to nurture your plants with a shower of rain. Dramm for lawn and garden, available at garden centers near you.
And welcome back to Garden Time. We are now with Brian, who I was wrong on your title. So go ahead and tell us your title. So it's Brian Stewart.
I'm the park supervisor with Shalam Park and Recs District.
Okay, but Newberg City is involved in that.
Absolutely,
too. Okay.
absolutely.
So tell us about, now we've interviewed you many, many times over the years, and we were expecting cookies today, but that's okay. No.
That is funny you should say that, because I literally felt guilty pulling up here this morning. And yeah, we had a budget meeting last night, and I feel really bad about that.
No. He used to bring cookies for every year when we did the interview. So tell us about the Camellia Festival and how it got started. And this is, what year is this?
Sure, it's a 15th year, hard to believe.
Always the middle of April, correct?
Yeah, we try to, it runs with the anniversary of our city flower was on April 1st in 1949. And they named the camellia the city flower. But we try to have the festival built around the Oregon Camellia Society's Bloom Show, when the blooms are present, obviously. But there's that silly holiday of Easter that floats around, and spring break. So try not to clash with either one of those. So it generally falls, the second week in April or sometime in April.
And yeah, I mean, it's a festival, but it's weather dependent.
Very much so.
And so, this spring we've been cold and wet, so the blooms probably aren't as far along. That doesn't stop you from having a great time.
Oh, absolutely not. And what's unique too with our partnership with the Camellia Society, Oregon Camellia Society, is their members are statewide, and they live in different areas with different microclimates. So, and it's kind of fun to watch that as some members that show up and they've got plenty of blooms, and others are struggling with their few, and it's serious competition too. So they have a huge passion for this. So I love that part of it. But yes, there's a whole festival built around. The center is the Camellia Bloom Show, and started 15 years ago. In conjunction with the Oregon Camellia Society, reached out to the city and wondered if the city was actually doing something for their 60th anniversary of the camellia being the city flower. And at the time I did work for the city of Newburgh. I was the city of Newburgh's groundskeeper. And that email trickled down to me. I think they looked at each other and said, who knew? But this guy's our plant guy, he might. And so I responded back to then President of the Society, Dennis Dooley, and they were gracious enough to come out, and we, in conjunction, we did an informal bloom show. And I thought, how cool, because it was kind of child psychology. I was thinking of job security there. I'll plant a bunch of camellias around town that we have to take care of on city property, but so made a little trail map of where they're located, and handed out free camellias to I think it was 47 people showed up that day or whatever. So we handed out little 4-inch camellias, but by securing those camellias, I was able to strike up a relationship more with different members of the Camellia Society. And it was fun, it was successful, and we had a good time. And the Camellia Society went away, and we went about our job, and as fate would have it, this building was just opening up. There used to be a school, the Central School here in town, and they were just opened as a cultural center. And the Camellia Society lost their venue for their annual bloom show at the Japanese Garden due to construction, and they were looking for a new venue to do their annual show. And they reached back out to us saying, hey, we had a great time there. We're looking to expand the knowledge of camellia and membership outside of Oregon, or outside of Portland, excuse me. And is there anywhere in town that we could possibly do a show? And so we kind of racked our brains, and being the groundskeeper here, one of the buildings I took care of was the library across the street, and watched this building develop. So I approached the board here, and it's the Parrish family, and Joanne and Ken Austin are actually the huge donors to this building and have helped develop the whole building. And they were gracious enough to say, I mentioned, could we do something like that here? Maybe have a bloom show and then build some kind of festival out of it and for the community. And they said that's what this building's all about, art, culture, and community, and it fit right in. So we were the first major event in this building 14 years ago, and along with the Oregon Camellia Society. And it has grown leaps and bounds every year. So we were the first year in here. It used to just be here, but now there's a formal ballroom up the stairs behind us, and that used to be the gym, and it's now a formal ballroom, and we were the first event in there also. And then the forecourt out front used to just be grass, the front of the school, and it's now a beautiful forecourt and paver patio, and we're the first event to expand out there. So every year it's getting bigger and bigger. And it's a blast, it really is.
What else can you do? You see the blooms. I mean, I think that's the major part of coming. I mean, that's my favorite part. Right. But there's really something for everybody when you come.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Judy. That makes the festival really unique. So there's plant people that are interested, or flower or bloom people that are interested in the flower itself. And then we have a full day's worth of entertainment, and it starts with a 5K, 10K run that's chip time. It's legitimate, and but it's casual too at the same time. But so we have people come from all over the state, believe it or not. We'll have upwards of 600 runners this year, and it keeps getting bigger every year.
Dude, is there a way that people can register? I mean,
yeah, they can go to the Camellia Run or CameliaFestival.com, and it links you right to the run walk, and it's 10K, 5K, as I mentioned. And so you could still register for that, and then we take walk-ups the day of the festival. Super popular, and as I said, it's competitive in some ways, but it's babies and strollers and the whole works too. So it's great. It's a lot of fun. And then that rolls right after that's completed. A whole full-blown festival opens up starting at 10 o'clock, and we have entertainment and educational demonstrations too all day long. So we have a formal tea ceremony that we do, and then we do Ikebana demonstration also. And then we have in Taiko is a youth taiko group that are just phenomenal. I would recommend them to anybody that's never seen taiko drummers. The energy they bring and the enthusiasm and just the skill is just, it blows your mind. It's really cool. And then so after that we do this year we have White Lotus Lion and Dragon dancers, and it's a really epic lion and dragon dance thing, from on stilts to interactive with the audience, and so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that. And then we have a taiko player, or excuse me, koto with Marjorie, and she actually brings the koto kai, and it's dueling kotos. So there's an ensemble of 4 of them. So if you've never seen the koto, it's really beautiful and impressive to watch them play.
It's like a traditional instrument, Japanese instrument?
Yeah, it's like the guitar lay. I'm sure I'm describing this totally wrong, but so I apologize for that. But it's laying flat, and you play it.
Pluck it.
But it's an iconic,
play it like a
iconic sound.
Very
It is
iconic,
really beautiful,
unique
yeah.
too. And for them to be able to strum that and generate that kind of music and energy is super fun to listen to. But
and can you buy plants? I mean, that's what we want.
Oh yeah, we're into that. Yeah, but one more. We have a hula high too, and then in the afternoon, and it's all age groups doing hula and traditional dance, and it's really colorful, and that's great to watch. Absolutely. And then inside that same ballroom where all this is going on, we have 40 some odd vendors dealing all kinds of different wares. And then a huge plant sale that goes on out on our forecourt patio that we have out back. And some of the lowest, greatest prices you're ever going to get wholesale from Spada Farms. And they don't like me to mention that or whatever, but because they are strictly wholesale. But they've been a wonderful partner for 14 years, so they're going to get it.
I think
they're great growers.
They are great growers.
Yeah.
And great people. And plenty of camellias for sale, of course. The Camellia Society have camellias for sale, and also the festival will have camellias for sale. Rose Society is here this year, which is really neat.
That's cool. Yeah.
So a little bit of something for everybody, and then the food. We got a ton of food vendors out front, and the wares going on inside. So it's just a great day of fun. It really is. A lot of energy.
And is there a fee to attend?
Totally free. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, it's always been free.
That's
and,
the best part. I mean, that's generous. Very generous.
So cool. And in this building, when you get here, you'll be blown away that wow, that exists here in Newburgh.
Family friendly, I'm assuming, because I know in the past you've had kids' activities.
All kinds of.
And the playground, there's a playground right next to the building. So even when they get tired, you as a parent can let them burn off some steam.
Absolutely. And they will be having kids' activities. The center puts that on, and that's great. And then, just the entertainment and stuff that's going on. The kids are really enthralled by that, especially the drumming.
Newburgh getting known for, the city flower. You must have a few camellias around town.
There are, yeah, from one end of town to the other. It's a great place to come see camellias in bloom. Part of the downtown, which is just a half a block away from where the venue is lined with, I think there's 86 wine barrels, and they all have camellias in them, different ones blooming and stuff. And there's some iconic camellias just all throughout town, as big as houses that have been here for a long, long time. So we not only have our city flower is the camellia. About 3 or 4 years ago, we actually, the state legislature passed a proclamation that named Newburgh the official camellia city of Oregon, which is cool. And then at the same time, I was lucky enough that I worked with a hybridizer down in Fort Bragg, California, and we secured a camellia, and then we went through the process with the help of the Oregon Camellia Society of naming that city of Newburgh. So we actually have our own camellia that is named.
Oh, wow.
Right, and we're doing, we're taking cuttings off of that and reproducing it, and eventually, hopefully we can sell those at the show or give those away too. So
I want people to know too that after the festival is over with, or even before the festival, Newburgh, the community of Newburgh is incredible. Beautiful little city here. Right smack dab in the middle of wine country. And I think a lot of people, we have a favorite restaurant here that, actually a couple of them that we come to when we were videotaping the Garden Time show. People really need to come out here, not just for the festival, but year round.
Yeah, to see the town, there's something going on year round. We have here in town, we have a brand new aquatic center or whatever that Chehalem Park and Rec built. It's phenomenal, and people come from all over, not just sports teams and everything else, just to experience that. Chehalem Park and Rec, we have Chehalem Glen Golf Course, which is a public course, 18 holes and driving range. That's absolutely beautiful in the middle of town. And like you said, there's plenty of restaurants and businesses, and wine. A lot of wine tours, and we are right at the door of that. So there's no shortage of things to do year round. You're absolutely right.
And so one final thing. So when people come and bring their blooms, there's a deadline on that Saturday morning, correct?
Right. So between 8 and 11, anybody can show up. Novice, anybody that's, you don't have to have any experience. There's plenty of people here that are going to help you register those. So between 8 and 11 in the morning, they want to bring their blooms.
I always tell people too, when they enter, bring a longer stem. You can always make it shorter, but you can never make it longer.
Sure.
So bring a longer
Measure
stem.
tause, cut once.
Exactly.
Bring extras.
So where can people go to find out information?
So you can go to NewburghCameliaFestival.com. And it has everything right there. It'll link you to Oregon Camellia Society, to the run, and everything. So, and the hours of the festival, like I said, the run will kick off at 9:05, and the festival starts at 10 to 4.
Excellent. Well, Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
It's great to see you again.
It's a blast.
If you're interested in camellias, contact the Oregon Camellia Society. And if you really want to have a fun day with your family, come on out to Newburgh on Saturday the 15th. This is 2023, so next year it'll be different.
Yeah,
so you can always go to the website and check out more. Just enjoy this community. It's a Judy and I have both come. I'm not sure if Ryan's been.
I've been out several times.
Yeah, he's been out to. So it is a great festival. You got to enjoy it with your family. Thanks again for listening and watching. Go to gardentime.tv and you can click to the video portion and watch this. Or you can also find different places for you to download the audio. Thanks again to Al's, Portland Nursery, Capital Subaru, DRAM, all help bring this to you. We thank you once again for joining us, and happy gardening.
At Portland Nursery, we believe that gardening is a creative endeavor that enriches our experience, enlivens the spaces around us, and provides a safe haven for the mind. Portland Nursery has everything you need to make your space feel unique, inviting, and exciting. From houseplants and hedges to trees, tools, veggies, and herbs, our selection is always growing and changing, just like you. Come visit us today at 50th and Stark, 90th and Division.
DRAM is celebrating 75 years of design and manufacturing of quality watering tools. DRAM products feature 9 water patterns and are designed to nurture your plants with a shower of rain. DRAM for lawn and garden, available at garden centers near you.
Here at Capital Subaru, we are family. From you, our customers, our coworkers, and even our actual family members work here. This is my son, Casey. We're generations ahead of the competition, and we're always working to keep you and your family moving.
We're here for you. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
All the support you need, from sales and financing to service and parts. We'll be here for you for generations to come.
And generations after that.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Casey. We make it easy to join our Capital Subaru family.
Where it's
your way on the Parkway.